fire with everyone. Indian fever. You can be part of the fun. You're the winner at every game. That's where the excitement begins. So catch Indian fever. Be a believer with the Cleveland Indians.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 6th, 2019 Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm your host, publisher and sports editor of the Lake County Sentinel, Tim Shirer, for nearly 22 years now. We have quite a bit to talk about tonight. We're going to get back to our regular format tonight. We'll have sports for the first 15 minutes. And then in the second 15 minutes of the show, we will have news and politics. In the sports, we're going to talk about Cavs, Monsters, Indians, Icebreakers, Browns, and a little bit of how there is a little bit of hypocrisy with the fans in Cleveland. So we'll talk about that. But let's start off with the Cavs. They play tonight at 7:30 in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center against the Nets. The Cavs are 16-48 on the year. They've won 5 of their last 8 games. They're playing a little bit better. Now that Kevin Love has returned, it kind of makes you wonder, what would they have been like if Kevin Love hadn't missed so much time? Would they almost be a playoff team? I feel like they probably would have. You know, he missed a lot of games. You add 15 wins to their win total. They're 31-33. They are a playoff team or almost a playoff team. But it might be a good thing that they're not. You know, they might get a lottery pick. They'll get a lottery pick, and maybe they'll get one of the big 3 players from Duke, and that'll be really good if they do. So they take on the Nets at 7:30 tonight at the Barclays Center in New Jersey. The Nets are 33-33, and the Cavs play them pretty well, actually. So this could be a rough test for the Nets. The Cavs have nothing to lose, so they're going to go in there with a spoiler attitude. Then we're going to move on to the Monsters. Monsters will play tomorrow night at the Q against the Belleville Senators at 7 o'clock. The Monsters are currently in 6th place and have 61 points. Belleville is in 5th place and has 67 points. So the Monsters really need to get this win tomorrow. Because only the top 4 teams make the playoffs in the AHL in each division, and the Monsters right now are in 6th, and they're 6 points behind the 5th place team. I believe they're 7 behind the 4th place team. So they really need to get a win tomorrow against Belleville, and hopefully they will. Next, we're going to move on to, I hadn't looked in a few days at the Federal Hockey League standings. I was a little bit surprised to see today that the Menor Icebreakers, who have occupied 6th place, last place in the league for all season, they're still in last, but they are 1 point behind the 5th place team. 1 point. The Icebreakers currently have 42 points and are in 6th place in the Federal Hockey League, the Menor Icebreakers. They are 1 point behind 5th place Danville Dashers. You get 3 points for a win. The Icebreakers play the Dashers 3 times this weekend. Now, the Icebreakers won 2 out of 3 last weekend against Watertown, who is the 4th place team. So, actually, they're the 3rd place team. So they played well last weekend. If they can keep it up this weekend, they will get out of last place. That is huge accomplishment, okay? Because they're an expansion team. Danville is not. So if they could take 2 out of 3 from Danville, they would end the weekend with possibly, at the least, they would end the weekend with 48 points. And Danville would have 46. So they would be out of last place. That would be monumental. If they could climb out of last place this late in the season, you know, they've improved their squad as the year goes on. I noticed looking at the scores, they aren't giving up as many goals as they did early. They give up a lot of goals early. Now they're not giving up as many. They still give up a good share, but they're still, you know, they're playing better than they were. And it has to be really hard to build a team in a league that already has established teams. And you don't get any of their players. You have to find your own. So I think you got to give a lot of credit to the Icebreakers that they have not given up. And honestly, yeah, it's a 15-point margin with 14 games to go. But honestly, they are not out of the playoff chase. They still have a shot. If they could win 2 out of 3 this weekend, maybe if they could sweep them, then they'd really have a shot to catch Port Huron, who's in that 4th spot. I think it's exciting, especially for people who have followed the team all year, to see that they could move out of last place. It would be pretty cool if they could. And hopefully on Monday, I'll be able to give you good news and say, look, they won 2 out of 3 this weekend. They won all 3. They're not last place anymore. So that would be really great. Okay, so now we have the Indians play at 9:00 tonight. So there's no game update today. So we don't have that. There, no game update. They play at 9:00. Unfortunately, they're not on TV again. They're not on. They're not on STO. So I don't know, if maybe they might possibly be on. They could possibly be on. Maybe ESPN or not ESPN, MLB Network maybe, but they're not on STO tonight. But they play the Dodgers at 9:05. So that should be it's a spring game. I mean, what really is there to talk about? I would be a hypocrite if I said it mattered. The game mattered. It matters in evaluating talent, but the result of the game means absolutely nothing. Mark Clevenger will be on the mound, though, it'll be his first start of the year, of the spring, against former Indian Rich Hill. The lineup is for the Indians. Jake Bowers will be leading off. Tyler Naquin will be hitting second. Jose Ramirez playing third will be hitting third. Carlos Santana will be in the cleanup position at first base. Hanley Ramirez will hit fifth. Kevin Plawecki will start at catcher. He'll be hitting sixth. Greg Allen will hit seventh in center field. Eric Stamets will start at shortstop, hitting eighth. And hitting ninth will be Ernie Clement, and he'll be playing second base. For the Dodgers, Jock Peterson will lead off. Max Muncy will be hitting second at first base. David Freese will be at third base, hitting third. Cody Bellinger will hit fourth in right field. Remember, he grew up in the Yankees locker room. Chris Taylor will be hitting fifth at shortstop. Enrique Hernandez is playing second base. He'll be hitting sixth. Alex Verdugo in center field. He'll be hitting seventh. Edwin Rios will be the DH, hitting eighth. And Rocky Gale will be the catcher. He'll be hitting ninth. So that's pretty much the Indians-Dodger matchup for tonight in the meaningless exhibition game. But it does give the teams a chance to look at players. The result, final score doesn't matter, but looking at players does. So let's get to the point that I talked about earlier. that I just got we're going to talk about the Browns Indians fan hypocrisy and how it's amazing how Indians fans rip the Indians and it's okay, and rip the Dolans and it's okay. But when someone says something about the Browns slashing payroll, oh my gosh, you're hateful. You're hateful. And I think that it's unbelievable how hypocritical people are here in Cleveland, and how they just think that it's okay to rip the Browns and the Indians and the Dolans and always call them cheap and say that they don't really care about winning, even though they win every year. But if you say anything about the Browns, they get mad. And they defend them, but they don't defend the Indians. They don't defend the Indians. But defend the Browns, who haven't won anything in decades. Decades. The Browns haven't won a playoff game. Okay? The Browns have not won a playoff game in 25 seasons. Okay? 25 seasons. Okay, yeah, 3 of them they weren't in the league. Okay, so it's 22. 22 seasons they've been in the league, they haven't won a playoff game. All right? Are you kidding me? But we're going to constantly stick up for the Browns. And Jimmy Haslam, who's been one of the worst owners in the NFL in his time owning the Browns, he's okay. We're sure he's going to spend money. How do you know this? How do you know this? He's never done it. He's never spent money on the right players yet. Okay? Is John Dorsey a good GM? I think probably he is. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how it seems to be fashionable in Cleveland to complain about the Dolans and say that they're cheap when they slash payroll, but when the Browns cut a guy who, in my opinion, yeah, he should have been cut. He wasn't that good. But when the Browns cut a guy who led the team in tackles, fans jump to their defense and say it was a great move. But when the Indians let a guy go who's probably at the end of his career, Michael Brantley, yeah, he had a good year last year. That's no guarantee he'll have a good year this year. When the Indians let him go, they get all kinds of backlash. People don't understand that the Indians are rebuilding while they are still good, cutting payroll so they may be able to add payroll in a year or two, maybe keep a guy or two that people think are going to leave. People don't understand it. They can win the division the next 2 years still. 2021 and 22, you don't know. Probably it's going to be tough because the White Sox and Twins will be coming back and maybe the Tigers. So it'll be tougher, but they're trying to rebuild and still win. Cleveland fans don't seem to get that. I guess they like 1-31. They don't like division titles. Division titles aren't good enough for them anymore. That's what they keep saying. Well, they're not good enough for me either. I'd like the Indians to win the World Series. But don't tell me they're not trying to win the World Series, because I think they are. Anyone who says the Indians are not trying to win the World Series is an idiot. They're an idiot. The Indians are trying to win the World Series, and they've proven to fans over and over again that they're a good franchise. They have. They're one of the most respected franchises in baseball, outside of Cleveland, of course, because Clevelanders don't respect the Indians at all. And it's really a shame because they really put a good product on the field, winning 3 Central Division titles in a row, having the best record in the American League for the last 6 years. It gets nothing. But we'll be right back with news and politics after this. back with the second half of the Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Shirer. You can check us out on our website at www.lakecountysentinel.com. That's www.lakecountysentinel.com. Spelled the same way as the podcast. We got, a great Cavs beat writer, Stone Lexington. And we got commentaries by Melissa Martin and myself. And a bunch of other Lake County news. So check that out. Check our website out. Well, we're going to start out today with a little bit of, we had Michael Cohen testified today in front of Congress saying that his testimony that he basically in front of Congress in 2017 that he got convicted of perjury and, false testimony was edited by White House attorneys and other White House staff. So if this is true, this could be some of the most damaging stuff yet against Donald Trump and his White House staff. Is it true? We don't know. I don't know. You have to decide whether you believe Michael Cohen or not. I don't know if I believe him. I think he's telling the truth most of the time. But I think that I don't know. I really don't know. I think he does lie a lot, obviously, Michael Cohen. But does he have a reason to lie now? What would his reason be now? I don't know. I don't know what his reason would be now. I mean, he's going to jail. There's no reason to lie now. Might as well tell the truth now, right? So makes me think maybe he is telling the truth. I don't know. I want to shout out to I'm gonna screw his name up. Mike Malorano. He's a friend and a fellow writer. I've never been able to say your last name right, Mike. He's listening in tonight. He messaged me about the Browns Indians thing. Just as the sports portion of the show was ending, I'm going to read his comment real quick. He says, Browns slashing more payroll today, and yet the fans are still predicting Super Bowl. I can't believe how Haslam always gets a free pass. All right, well, he does get a free pass. And that's the sports portion of the show. We're going to get back to the politics now, but I just wanted to read that comment and show some, let some people know that, I'm not the only one that thinks this stuff. And this is a Browns fan. He's a Browns fan. So what we have here is we went over Cohen's testimony. I'm not sure, like I said, you take it for what it is. You don't know. But then we have the plant in Lordstown closing today. Okay. The final Chevy Cruze came off the assembly line. It's a very sad day down there. My whole life, I know Lordstown, Lordstown by Youngstown. They made cars. One of my mom's best friends from when she was in high school, her husband was an auto worker, and he worked in Brooklyn for a long time. And then he got transferred to Lordstown. And I remember they moved. They lived in Lyndhurst and they moved down to Mansfield so he would be closer to Lordstown. And I remember we went down to visit. And we drove over with him and saw Lordstown. And I just couldn't believe how big it was. Okay. This was probably, it had to be like 82 or 83, somewhere in there, because, maybe 82. Somewhere in there. And I remember driving down there. I remember going down there and feeling like Mansfield was far away. But I remember driving there, and thinking like, what a big deal my mom's friend's husband was, that he was an auto worker, and he really took pride in his job. He was a really nice man. And he showed, he drove to the plant. We didn't go in, but we saw how big it was. I couldn't believe how big it was. And now I just think to myself, that whole plant is empty, or is no workers, silent. They're not making anything there anymore. 53 years they made cars at Lordstown. And, I feel bad for the people. I do. I feel bad for the people. But, this next part, you're going to think, oh, you're just mean. You don't feel bad for these people. No, I do. I do feel bad for these people. But, there's a lot of people down in that area, that made bad decisions in the 2016 election. They supported Donald Trump. They voted for Donald Trump because they believed his line of bull, okay? And that he would bring jobs. He would bring manufacturing back. Remember how he told them he'd bring manufacturing back? Well, what's happened? They're losing their jobs. Manufacturing's not come back under Donald Trump. A lot of plants have closed. So it's not getting any better. He doesn't have that magic wand that he said he had, that he claims he still has, that he bragged about on Monday while Lordstown was putting their last car out. Okay? They voted for him. And then there was a woman I saw today being interviewed, who's from Lordstown, and she worked at the Lordstown plant, and now she has relatives that work at the Lordstown plant. Okay? Carmela Deno. All right. And she was just angry with Donald Trump. She voted for him. She said she voted for him, but she's angry with him. And she says the workers kept GM going. No president helped GM keep going. Well, that's not truthful. That's not the truth. President Barack Obama put the plan forward to save the auto industry. Okay. Her relatives wouldn't have a job today if Barack Obama hadn't put a plan forward and loaned the money to save the auto industry. So yes, a president helped. Are the workers responsible for building a strong company? Yeah, they are, because they did the hard work every day. But then she's also concerned with her niece's child may lose their health care. Look, I don't want to see any kid sick or something happen to any kid, because, kids are our most precious thing in this world. Maybe she should have thought of that when she voted, though. Maybe she should have voted for a person for president that could have helped provide health care for her relative's child, instead of a president who just wanted to eliminate health care for children. And that's what Donald Trump did, or wants to do. He did not have a plan to replace Obamacare. He did not. He just cut it. He just wanted to get rid of it. He didn't have a plan to replace it. So now her relative's child may not have health care. So her decision not only is affecting her, but it's affecting her relative's child. She needs to take responsibility for that and not blame everyone else. People who voted for Donald Trump need to start taking responsibility. And I'm not talking about everybody that voted for him. I'm talking about the people that continue to support him and to be blinded by hatred. They're blinded by hatred. They support Barack Obama because they hate someone else. They hated Hillary Clinton. They hated Barack Obama, the black president. That's why they supported Donald Trump. Supporting another person just because you hate someone else is not always a good idea. And I think we're finding that out now. Unfortunately, a lot of us with common sense are suffering for that decision by a lot of people. I know some good people that voted for him because they didn't like Donald Trump or they didn't like Hillary Clinton. I do. I know some good people that did that. But I think they're questioning their decision now even. I really think so. I don't mention it to them. I don't bring it up to them because they're good people and I don't want, but it's these other people who still defend Donald Trump that just disgust me. Okay? They just disgust me. Speaking of Donald Trump, stock market update to close the show. So everyone knows that the stock market closed down again today. It's down about 350 for the week so far. It closed down today 133.17 points. It closed at 25,673.46. It's gone up 5,755.46 since Donald Trump's been president. That's a 21.99% gain. In the same amount of time when Barack Obama was president, it went up 4,169.88 points. You're going to say, oh, that's a lot less points. Yeah, but the percentage is higher. That's a 34.26% gain under Barack Obama. And so you really can't, are you going to tell me that, oh, well, it was higher when the stock market was higher when Trump took over. So, of course, it has to go up more for him to get a same amount of gain. Well, yeah, okay. Well, why was it higher? Well, because it did really well under Barack Obama, even though you wanted to deny that because he was black. So we have that, and I think we're pretty much out of time for tonight. But I want to thank everyone for listening. That pretty much finishes off our March 3rd or March 6th show. And I want to thank everyone who listened in and everyone who may listen to the playback of it, if anyone does. I thank you very much for listening. Very much. We will not be on tomorrow. We will be back on Friday. And hopefully you'll all be here to listen. The Friday podcast will be at 5:30. I hope you all have a nice night. We'll talk to you later.